Doug, you're up with the great John Barrows.
Thank you, Scott, and thank you, John. And I guarantee you with this question, you're going to get your clicker ready, Scott.
Oh, boy.
Oh, yeah. I connected with you, John, like so many others did, but it was in 2018. And what compelled me to do so was a post I saw on LinkedIn where you were going off on Grant Cardone and the whole
John and I were
10X
there
bullshit.
together.
And I said to myself, because I think sales is a very noble profession, as most of us do, and there's such garbage out there that always made my skin crawl. And I've been exposed over the years to a lot of different sales training and programs, and Sandler sales is one that definitely resonated with me for many reasons. But when I saw you like eviscerate that whole persona, I was like, yes, like this dude, and I'm ignorant, I didn't know about you before then, like this guy, I love this guy. Can you just please go in any direction you want with that?
Yeah, it's heartbreaking, right? I mean, I've always thought, so quick story, if anybody wants to Google it, Google Jay Barrows, We Need to Talk, and you'll see the full story here. But long story short, Scott and I were there. Grant Cardone, I've always despised him just in general, because I thought, you know, people say, what are your favorite sales movies, right? And you hear Wolf of Wall Street, Boiler Room, Glengarry Glen Ross. I actually disagree. I think those are the worst sales movies I've ever seen in my life. They're great movies, but they're the worst sales movies I've ever seen. It's literally everything that's wrong about selling, right? Because they're just trying to screw people over just to get their commission checks and that type of stuff. And Grant, unfortunately, in my world, falls in that bucket. And at first I thought, hey, whatever, like, who cares? But then when Drift brought him to the conference, and I know Dave Cancel really, really well, and their ethos is not Grant. And I asked, I was like, what's going on here? And it was like, no, he's actually got good content. So I was like, you know what? Maybe I'm wrong. I don't, maybe I haven't given the guy a chance. I only see little snippets on his website and stuff like that. So maybe I'm wrong. I show up and he does exactly what I thought. Oh, hit the list and do thing. And I think even a bag of Coke fell out of his pocket, even though he doesn't do drugs anymore. Like, fuck him. Anyways, so I'm sitting there and I'm like, you know, doing whatever. And then he starts talking about his wife, and his wife stands up. He's like, hey, honey, get up there. You know, get up, stand up. And, you know, she's, you know, got all the plastic surgery and stuff. And he's like, look at that. Look at that. That's mine. And he starts talking to her like he owned her. He was like, that's mine. That is mine. And then he started talking about what he was going to do to her on his private jet on the way out of the conference. And I lost it. I was like, what the Trish Bertuzzi was sitting next to me and she like smacks me. She's like, wah! And I'm rarely speechless. And so, you know, and I was speechless, but then I ripped off on LinkedIn and I was like, guys, we got to cut the shit here. We got to stop this bro culture. It's killing us. We are ostracizing people that could be great in this industry, women, people of color, all that stuff with that attitude. So we got to stop. And then I ended up getting Trish Bertuzzi, Casey Jones, and Lori Richardson together. And we did a webinar on this. It was called We Need to Talk. And one of the things that was for anybody out there, and I really encourage anybody to go look at that blog post, because on that blog
Kathy
post,
dropped it in the chat.
Thank you. What I did was, we didn't want to preach to people. We sent out a survey, a blind survey, a Google Doc, and said, hey, give us the questions that you're afraid to ask in your environment. Give us an example of something that's happened that you're uncomfortable bringing up in front of, you know, your peers, and give us a positive thing, right? I thought I was a pretty empathetic guy. I thought my wife, you know, my mom raised me well, I thought, right? But then when I had my daughter, I was like, oh my God, like, whoa. How we're marketed to and all this other stuff, like, okay, maybe I'm not as empathetic as I thought. But then when I read those comments, it broke my heart. It really did, because it wasn't the overtly sexist stuff that was the problem. The overtly sexist stuff is the overtly sexist stuff. There's not, you can't change a true sexist, right? But it was all the microaggression. It was all the little things throughout the day that stood out. And even me being a male leader, thinking that I'm a good guy, there was like 5 or 10 examples I looked at and I said, shit, I definitely have done that in earlier parts of my career. And you know, like probably made people feel uncomfortable, women on my team feel uncomfortable, but because I'm a good guy, they didn't say anything. And it was like, it just hit me like a ton of bricks. So I tell anybody who is out there, who's a male leader in their, you know, anybody for that matter, who doesn't think they have a problem within their organization around that type of stuff, just to read through those comments and tell me that you don't think some of that's happening there, because if you don't, you're wrong.
Yeah. There's a great, we'll find this. So Grant Cardone actually posted a picture of him speaking at that event and it's a picture of me and Jamie Diglio in the front row, and we have these looks on our face like, what is happening? It's hysterical that he's actually promoting it by showing a picture of Jamie and I in disbelief that we're listening to this buffoon. So John took him to task, and it was great.